Alright, welcome back to the bench. Good to see you again. Thanks for joining. Hope you're all well. Today on the bench I got a Harman Kardon 900 Plus. This is another monster receiver I need to do. This is one of the monsters from Harman Kardon. It is a quadraphonic receiver, twin power multi-channel receiver. I think this is the top of the line for that brand in that era. This is a client unit. He wants the full meal Resto on it, so it's going to get all new caps and anything else that it needs. It's in very nice condition. You can see there on the wood cabinet it is pretty much pristine. There's no blemishes, there's no flaws, and it's very nice. It has a huge cutout in the top to let all the heat out, and it's probably about 12 inches by 10 inches. And yeah, this is a nice receiver. Now, it brought it to me about a month ago. It's been sitting in the queue waiting, and I promised him I'd get this done before Christmas, so that's why I'm pushing this one now. And because I've got other things on the bench that I put aside, but we need to get some stuff done. I need to pay some bills. This one is I don't know if you've seen. I've done other Plus series Harman Kardons on the channel, and this is pretty similar. It has the sound field balance joystick that allows you to balance between front and rear, left and right, and that eliminates knobs in the balance area. I think this simplifies it quite a bit. It just puts it down to one control, even though there's 4 potentiometers here. So that's good, and it's actually it feels proper. It doesn't feel like it's broken inside, like I felt before on other receivers. The one thing this does have a problem with is age. Some of these controls are quite stiff, like this treble control is very difficult to turn. Same with the bass. Oh, that's mid-range. This bass is okay, and then yeah, it's really difficult to turn some of these. So we got seized up grease in the potentiometers and the switches. Switches, we don't know. They're probably dirty. We don't know that yet. They seem to function okay. They feel alright. They're a little sticky. This one feels sticky. So let's quickly look at the features of what this thing's got, and then we'll tie into it. The red button power switch that's illuminated from behind. That's a standard for Harman Kardon. It's got 2 phones outputs, front and back, so when you're listening to quadraphonic you have to have the special headphones that have the dual jacks. We got main speakers for front and rear, okay, and then remote speakers for front and rear. It's funny that they did separate switches for front and back, so you could run the remote speakers on the fronts only, I guess, or the backs only, and do the same with the main speakers. Not everybody uses quadraphonic at all times. It might be something that you might try out once in a while, so it's flexible enough that you can use that. 2 tape monitors. One of them doubles as an external Dolby noise reduction loop, so you can have 2 tape decks or a Dolby box connected. You have a FM muting switch, contour, which is your loudness, high and low cut. Over here we got our mode switch, which has mono, stereo, our SQ matrix 1 and 2. Now this does have an internal SQ decoder in it, I believe. Enhanced stereo, I don't know what that is. It's probably some kind of a generated stereo. And CD4 discrete, so that would be your raw 4-channel coming in and going out. Bass, got split controls for front and back. A function switch, we got 2 phono inputs, stereo FM, FM, discrete FM or auxiliary 1, auxiliary 2, and AM. I don't know which, if any of these are 4-channel inputs. I think the discrete FM might be. We're going to see on the back panel. Volume control. It's kind of little tiny piddly volume control way off in the right corner here. And then we have our tuning knob, and our dial scale isn't backlit. There's a big meter here on this left side that we can't see until the light comes on. And then that's about it. Let's look at the back. There's lots going on in the back here, that's for sure. So we have, right on the top left corner here, we got our antenna inputs, 75 ohm and 300 ohm for our FM and an AM long wire antenna. We have our CD4 separation for left and right. And these are probably, they've been marked with a marker, but they're really stiff to turn. Two phono inputs, our inputs for auxiliary 2, and looks like we have this is the front and this is the rear, so we have 4 inputs, discrete FM auxiliary 1, 4 inputs, tape monitor 1, we have 4 inputs, tape 1 out, we have 4 outputs, and tape 2 we have 4 outputs. So it's quite versatile. This is Dolby Tape Monitor 2 input and output, left and right, out, in and out. Our 4-channel FM out to decoder. Don't think it has one inside. Not really sure. Stereo 4-channel switch. Just set the stereo right now. Here's a mute adjustment for the FM. 4 independent speaker fuses, 1 for each amplifier, and they are supposed to be 5 amp. I'll go through and check these. This in here is 5 amp. Okay, so that's correct. Check those later. And then we have all our outputs for our somebody blacked out all this. I don't know why they would do that. This is marked for fuse. Maybe somebody just bypassed this. It says 100 volt, 120 volt, 5 amp, 220 volt, 240 volt, 2.5 amp. So this is a 5 amp. And somebody tried gluing this in. I don't know why they would do that. Doesn't want to go. Bar antenna, which is good. 2 outputs, switched and unswitched. And we have 4 sets of outputs, main and remote for front and back. Yeah, I wonder why somebody did this. I don't know. I have a feeling I'm going to find some surprises inside. You see how they blacked out with ink or marker all this writing. So let's get the lid off, have a look inside. So looking at these case cover screws, they're quite worn. Somebody's been inside of this quite a few times. Some of these screws are quite worn from being removed. Okay. Nice cover, no staining. It's been kept very clean all its life. Wow, look at this thing. This thing is just loaded. Okay, we got our 4 amplifiers here. 4. This here looks like AM tuner. This would be our FM. No, this is our SQ decoder, I'm assuming. This does not look like tuner. This looks like SQ. Wow, somebody's been in here. They're labeling wires 1 and 2. Don't know what this is. This here. All will be revealed. Underneath this board there's a tuner board. It looks like it's all enclosed in a shielded box. Don't know what this is. This might be our stereo demodulator. This here might be phono stage, I'm not sure. It's quite a beast. Twin power supply, but we have 4 amplifiers, so it's not really it's not really a monoblock. You got 4 sets of cans here, and these are, what are these? 50 volt 6800. We have what looks like original silicon in these two. This one has RCA transistors. This one has Hitachi transistors. So these might have been worked on. These two are probably originals. It's hard to say. I can see soldering here, some weird transistors soldered in. So somebody's been working on these. Never seen this on Harman Kardons before. Look at this. The wiring, the cable wiring is numbered, identified. Each cable has an identifier on it. And I see that all throughout the back panel here. Let me see if I can see any more of that. Yeah, it's all throughout the receiver. So if you have wire 202, you could follow it through. A green wire 202, it comes out somewhere. You can tell if it's exactly one or not. So that's pretty good. The more I look at this, the more insane it is. This is crazy. They got like little power supply boards stuffed in here with caps anywhere they can fit them. Another power supply board here. There's a rectifier board. This looks like the bottom of the tuner, bottom of the front end, tuner front end. This board here, I don't know what it is, but it's doing something. What does it look like? I don't know, it could be anything. And then our tone board here. Wow, this thing is incredible. Look at this cabling going to the function switches. Everything's double because we have 4 channels instead of 2, so twice the wiring on some of this stuff between the back panel here and like there's a big cable ducting for all the signal cables. This thing's crazy. I'm going to pull off the front panel, the front cover, and with the knobs so I can service everything. Actually, what I should do is let's plug this thing in and see what kind of noises it makes. I have a feeling it works great the way it is. Let's see here. Fuses everywhere. Okay, we got it connected to a set of speakers. Let's feed a tone in. Power is shut off. Got 0. Turning it on. Up to about 45 watts. 48. Climbing. Do have front. Let's see, auxiliary should be on AM right now. Getting anything? Auxiliary 1. Their tone. Right, left, right, left. We got no left channel. And I can hear it. There's no tone. Let's go to mono. Mono, it doesn't even come through, so we might have a bad amplifier. You can hear. Could be just a bad switch too. Getting anything to the left channel. This thing might be really messed up. Getting any deflection on the meter either as I scan the band. Let's go with FM. I'm getting some signal, but it's really reduced volume. I got half volume right here. Could be just the muting too. I'm not hearing anything through. Lots of not worky. Okay, well, we got our work cut out for us, I think. Now we're down to 37 watts. Why is it such a difference? Phono, just the lighting. There's quite a bit of wattage used in that lighting. Okay, let me investigate this further. So I'm trying out the remote speakers. I got them on the front, and it's the same thing. I have right channel that is really weak in volume. That's full volume on AM. It's really inadequate. And then FM, same thing. I did see the stereo light come on, so the stereo seems to be working. So this thing's got problems. I have a feeling it's all in the tone board. We might have a dead channel somewhere. Talk to me about how that. Because when I shift it to the left, I can barely hear it out of the left. Right. Back. Front. The Marvel. The Batman. Okay. So yeah, we are down on left channel for sure. So let's see what we can do. Let me try the other two channels. So I move the speakers to the back amplifier. Turn on all the speakers. I had nothing. Absolutely nothing. Let's try mono. Absolutely nothing. Alright. Let me flip the switch in the back. Flip the switch in the back to 4-channel. We should have 4-channel going through this thing. Ooh. Auxiliary 1, I have a tone and there's nothing. The left is working. Oh, there's our tone. Auxiliary 1. Left. No right. This one seems to be working. The right is working, but it's got low volume and distortion. This thing's got a lot of problems. Let's try and see what we can do for it. Kind of overwhelmed here. I'm trying to decide what to do first. I want to get these 4 power amplifiers working to confirm that they are working. Somebody's been working on this. This has been somebody replacing transistors on this one for sure. And this one looks okay. This one's been worked on, yes. And this one looks factory stock. But I'm seeing a lot of bad things here. All these composite resistors, they're everywhere on these boards. They're all going to be out of whack and they're going to need to be replaced. The caps too, I don't know the date code of this thing. I don't see any date codes anywhere. Let's have a look around. I saw a chip here, but it doesn't have a date code. Doesn't say. This one here has a date code 73. 1973. Middle of 73. Yeah, that's about right. There's some more chips here. No date codes on them though. Yeah, this is going to be fun. So I think, and these don't come out as modules, they're soldered in place. So to remove this, I'd have to unscrew it. What's it screwed to? Oh, from underneath. And I'd have to detach some wires on the bottom, which is not easy because it's a mess. It's a rat's nest underneath. Right here we got like a little power supply board that's tacked on the side here, and that's all loaded with ancient caps and composite resistors. This is going to be a fun one, and this is going to take a lot of time. So let me get started on something here. Let's see. I really want to work on those amplifiers. I don't know if you can see this. They're marked 1, 2, 3, and 4. I think I'm going to remove these 4 amplifiers, and that'll open up a lot of real estate here, and I can work on these other cards and these other ones, get them. The AM tuner's got composite resistors, carbon comps, and it's got old caps, so a lot of work have to go into this, that's for sure. I'm looking at this mess, and I think somebody added these fuses. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 fuses that have been added in here. This is into the primary. These are all fused, and it goes up to this power supply board. And these blue wires are fused. Where's the rectifiers? Okay. Orange wires go to this board. Gray and red wires are plus and negative, and they go to the filter caps. So what do these wires do? This one here, well, that's for lighting. Okay, that's for lighting. What is this other one for? This blue wire, where does it go? For lighting, yeah. These are for lighting. And these are power protection fuses. This one here, I don't know why we have 5 fuses here. But anyways, I'm looking at this. I can't even get this screw out to get this transistor off to lift this board out, because there's a nut on the other side that's blocked with the amplifier, and I can't get the amplifier out because these big caps here are blocking the way. So I'm going to remove these big caps. It's 1000 microfarad at 50 volts, 2200 microfarad at 25 volts, and there's a terminal strip back here. So the cap is connected here, goes through the cap, terminal strip, this black wire comes back. I can eliminate all this and put a little cap right here, and this will open all this up. I can do the same for this one. This cap is connected here, goes through to the pink wire. The pink wire goes back to the board. So I can move this cap onto the board and free up all this space, and that'll open this up, and I can start taking amplifiers out. But wow, what a mess. Whoever designed this. Okay, stop complaining about it and get busy, I guess. Okay, moving on with this beast. Working on the tone board now. Lots to do. I should have charged double my rate for this thing, because this is insane, this receiver. So get So to get the tone board out, remove the 3 nuts from the potentiometers, the bass, treble, mid-range, and then you remove 2 screws from the back, one up here, one down here, and you should be able to finagle this back enough so that you can get the pots clear of the bottom flange, and then you can just swing it out and leave everything attached. You certainly don't want to be flexing these boards a lot, because you break off any one of these wires, then you got a serious problem to troubleshoot and try and find it. So I got to remove these pots and clean them. These ones are the ones that are, this one's stiff, frozen up. This one's frozen too. Frozen. So I'll have to take these out and apart. Well, I'm not going to take them apart. I'm going to take them out and treat them with some oil, see if I can get them freed up. But look at all the caps in this thing. This is insane. every transistor stage has coupling caps on the before and after. Here, I'll let me show you something here. So I put this up on screen, and then I can see where the cap is, the cap number, where it resides, what its function is. All of the caps that are in the audio chain will get audio grade caps. All the rest of them are either power supply caps or something else, so they get appropriate. So just going through and doing this, there's 4 of everything, so you know, it doubles the fun for a stereo receiver. So this is what I got to deal with. Got some bad transistors in here too. There's some bad actors. I'm going to be replacing those. I think this board here is the cause of a lot of my dead channels. I'm not sure yet, but we're going to find out when I start pulling caps out and testing them. Now I am finding all the caps in this receiver are garbage. They're all out of tolerance. They're like 20, 30, 50% over their specified value. ESR is high. I haven't found any dead caps yet, but that's coming. I have a feeling that's coming. With the number of caps here, there's got to be something that's out of whack. And the age of these caps, these are what, 50 years old now? 52, 51-year-old caps. Yeah, there is problems in here. So let's press onwards with this. I'll remove the pots first, and then I'll get recapping. Alright, this thing's a nightmare to work on. They don't leave you any extra lead length to separate the module, the amplifier module, from the chassis, so you can get in there and work. You only have about 1 inch. So what I found works is just remove the screws from the board and separate the heatsink from the board, and then you can flip this up, you can actually get in here with a soldering iron and just remove the pin, because they got wire wraps on the pin. Some of them have been soldered already because somebody's been in here before me. So what they did is they cut the wire, which made the wire even shorter yet, and then they reattached the wire and soldered it. What they should have done is just desoldered the pin from the board. And I'm going to try and do this on camera. I don't think I can. If I can get in here with my needle nose, grab the pin. If I can see, I can't see anything. I can see where I need to go, but everything's cluttered under here with... Okay, I can see where the pin is. Let me try this. It's a total pain. Flip this up and get under here with the soldering iron. Heat that joint up there, pull that pin out. There. Now I just got 3 more to do, and then this module's free. Man, what a pain. Okay, after so much cursing and struggling, I got them out, and this is what they look like. So I also removed this board. This is called a clamp board. I don't know why. It's got the old 2SC458 transistors on it that are gotta go. Resistors or carbon comps, they gotta go. Old caps, they gotta go. So pretty much everything on this board is gonna be replaced. Maybe the diodes will be okay, but everything else is going. These, same thing. We have carbon comps in all 4 of them. They're all going to get replaced regardless of their tolerance, because a lot of these will be out of spec now. All the caps will go. Somebody's been working on this board. This has a unusual Motorola transistor in it. I don't know what that is. And somebody replaced this part with a 2N, what is that? 2N 5679, and this one here has been replaced. This one's been replaced. Those 2 have been replaced. So everything on this board's been replaced except for the resistors and caps. This one here, this has got original silicon, and this one, nothing's been changed on this one. I noticed somebody sandblasted the back of these boards. You can see here, I'll show you on this one. This one really shows it. Somebody sandblasted the solder mask off. You see how it's... And the solder joints are all have been sandblasted too. I don't know, this is their way of cleaning it. I don't know why they would do that. Just opens it up for corrosion. That's odd. These 2 are okay. I think they're untouched. No, somebody replaced this transistor. It's been soldered, I can see. This one. So somebody's been in here mucking around. This one is untouched. This is all original. Number 3. So I'll get busy doing this and then get these back in. As far as the rest of it's gone, I've done the AM board. I've done the SQ matrix board. Those have been recapped, re-transistored, anything, new resistors. This one here, the multiplex board, I haven't touched yet. And that's it for up here. I've also worked the tone board. That's all complete. It's been recapped, new transistors, treated the pots. Everything's been cleaned. That's good to go. The phase inverter board down here, you can't see it. Phase inverter board has been finished. And this power supply has been finished. I still need to glue that cap down. So we're getting close. I don't know what I'm going to do about these switches though. Look at this mess. I'm going to evaluate the condition of these switches. Typically in a situation like this, I just replace the switch. These switches are not going to be easy to do. I'll have to remove them and pull them out and see how much access I have for cleaning. I might remove them. Probably end up removing them and then cleaning them, disassembly cleaning them. And if that doesn't work, I'll have to replace them. And I confirmed all these fuse holders that somebody tacked in here are aftermarket. Somebody put these in as protective measures. I don't know why. Somebody probably blew this amp up and they thought, well, just add fuses and maybe they'll prevent it, but I don't know. I don't know what they're preventing here. These fuses are for this board. These fuses are for lamps, I believe. And I don't know what this white one is here. This one connects to AC mains. So yeah, I don't know what they're doing here. There's a fuse holder here. There's a fuse holder here connected to the AC. Somebody has some idea of doing something here. Yeah, and I also forgot this board. This is the CD4 board. Yeah, look at the caps loaded on this thing. And all these bad transistors. They're all over the place. And this board is really difficult to work on. These traces lift if you look at them the wrong way. So you got to be super careful with your heat and make sure you always pull and not push on any leads. Because the pad is quite small and the hole is quite large, so they have like a little ring of copper around the hole, and it's a very weak bond between that copper pad and the board, and you got to be super careful. So this will be a challenge. I'll have to spend probably thankfully there's no resistors on here that look like they're out of spec, but we don't know yet. There's a lot of caps though. Wow, this thing's going to eat up a lot of capacitors. Alright, I think I'm at a point here now where I can start putting things back together. I spent probably, well, actually more than a week just recapping and working these boards over. This one, for example, had 12 or 15 transistors to replace, probably about 30 or so caps. This is an all-day job just doing this, and this is very fragile, these boards. And you have to be super careful working on them so you don't lift traces. And I did lift a couple traces, a couple pads, but I fixed them up and make sure that it's all good. This is a CD4 board, and this one does the CD4 decoding. So this should be good to go. But first I have to put the amplifiers back in, and they went well. Also they went well. There is some mods I made. I took off these. They had some crappy ceramic caps bypassing the power supply. I took those off and put in some higher quality capacitors. I replaced some transistors that were replaced before, and they were kind of dubious substitutions, so I did that. Recapped all new resistors because all the resistors were carbon comps and they were garbage, and out they came. Clean up the board, check flowing and soldering, replace the trim pots. What else did I do? Just general cleaning it up. Oh, and a few of these had loose screws on the transistors, and this connection here was loose. So that's a collector connection for that transistor that was loose on one of the amplifiers. So that was probably causing a problem. But we got to put this all back together, and they're ready to go back in. Once I get it back in, I can connect the wiring up and do some initial testing. I still haven't touched anything to do with these switches. I'm kind of dreading the thought about taking these switches out. This is going to be a nightmare. But what I'll do is I'll take the switches out and have a look at them. I think for the most part they could probably be cleaned up. Or you know what, I just might wait until the amplifier's in, and then I can reevaluate these switches and see which ones really need help and which ones are okay. But they're all going to need to be cleaned. Still have to do the volume control and the balance pot. That's still things that need to be done. This clamp board is done. What else? What else is going on here? The phase inverter's done. The power supply board's done. Tone board's done. This board here is, I'm not sure what that board does. But there are a lot of, here I'll show you. There's a lot of these transistors that have the dome top, the dome epoxy top. They have gold legs. Now, in some cases these can be problematic themselves because the gold bond wires inside can detach and then they can lose their connection. But I'm going to evaluate these. I'm not going to change these out unless I absolutely have to. If there's any problems with some of these transistors, there's quite a few of them in this receiver. And if I find problems with any of these, I might just yank them all and replace them all because, yeah, they could be, they're pretty, well, they're 50 years old now, and they could be a problem. So this little board here is not factory. It was something they added on after. I don't know if this is some kind of upgrade kit or something, but it was attached to the CD4 board, and these 4 wires were attached to it. So I don't know what they're doing here with this. This might be a factory mod or a service update, but there's 3 caps on there. I'll replace those. So if anybody knows what this is about, and here I'll give you maybe a look at the circuit board here and you can have a look at it. Part numbers. It's got 3 transistors on it and a few caps, resistors. Doesn't look like it does anything important. But like I said, it was connected to the CD4 board, and it looks like they're modifying something, trying to get it to work. So if you know what that board is, put it in the comments because I'm kind of interested. I'm just going to connect it back up and run with it. Here's the tape markings from the previous tech. That's not me. So, and then it connects to this connector here. One thing I want to do for these power amplifiers though is go through and repaste these semiconductors because it doesn't look like there's any paste on them whatsoever. It looks like it's dry with a mica washer, and I don't know if the heat transfer is getting through. I'm going to take these apart and repaste them, so that's going to take a little while today too. Yeah, this is how I found it. That's the collector connector. This is why it's important to take these apart and re-grease them. That's factory. So whatever they spread on there, some kind of oily substance, didn't quite do it. And this is the other transistor. This one has a generous coating of whatever it is. It's some kind of a clear grease. But you can see under here where it didn't even make contact with the transistor. That's where the transistor die is. So I'll clean this all up, repaste it, and put it back together. Alright, putting the amplifiers back in. This is no easy chore. You have to, what I'm doing is I remove the board from the heatsink. And you remember I said earlier, I pulled the pins out. I pulled the pins out of the board and desoldered the pins. And I got an empty hole, and I got the pin here, so it's easy to put the pin back in the hole. And then here, I'll show you. So I go with this, position it, and I line up the pins back in the holes, put them, and then you flip the board up, and then you can solder. the bottom of the pin. That's the easiest way I found to do it. And then you have to screw it to the bottom of the chassis. Now this thing is incredibly complex. I can't imagine when they built these things. These are all hand soldered, and everything in this receiver is hand soldered, hand wired. I can't imagine how many hours, tens, hundreds, maybe 100 hours to build this thing. I don't know. It was built in Japan on an assembly line, so they must have had a lot of workers doing their own little tasks, like assembling boards and doing wiring, and it's just incredible, this thing. And I can't imagine they sold too many of these. These things would probably, what would they cost brand new? It would be insane, the amount of work that went into build this. And even just changing capacitors, I'm into the couple hundred here now, and incredible number of parts, all the wiring, the complexity, everything about this is just insane. So yeah, if you get one of these, I don't imagine they built too many of them, not from what I'm seeing here. Okay, that was rather unpleasant. Now, putting this back together was a chore, especially since our friend here added all these fuse holders. They're in the way from all these screws that I need to access, but not too bad, I guess. Shouldn't complain, I got it done. So, very important, when you put these amplifiers back in, take a light and check down, make sure you don't have any pinched wires, because when you torque down the screws for these heat sinks, they'll pinch against the chassis. And make sure you don't have any pinched wires under there. Look through the fins, and if you have anything, correct it. And then make sure your transistors are not leaning over touching each other, because the case on these T05 transistors, they're connected to the collector, I believe, I'm not sure. And if this metal body touches any other metal parts, it'll create a short circuit. So make sure you pay attention to that. Another thing to pay attention to is these stabilizers. There's 4 of them. Make sure that after all your manipulation and work, that none of these wires broke off. I had one break off, so I had to resolder it. And just give them a little tug. Make sure that they are in place and connected. Now, this switch here is important. This one is your stereo 4-channel switch. Now this thing does dual duty of a number of things. When you switch it to stereo, what it does, these are all speaker output from the amplifiers. What it does, it switches it from an unbalanced 4-channel output to a balanced 2-channel output. And what I mean by that is it disconnects the ground from the amplifier and connects 2 amplifiers to the output. So you're actually going into bridge mode from regular unbalanced. So when you flip it to 2-channel, you're in bridge mode. You're going to get twice the power from your amplifiers. If you switch it to 4-channel, all 4 channels work independently of each other, and each channel has half the power of the stereo mode. Also, this side of the switch sets up your phase inverter, because when you switch it to bridge mode, you have to invert the phase on one channel so that they work opposite each other. And that's what this does. The switch will switch in the phase inverter. If you put it in 4-channel mode, it takes the phase inverter out and allows the 4 channels to go through. So make sure this switch is clean. When you get your amplifier back up and running, give this a test. Make sure none of your channels are dropping out. Give it a shot of deoxit. And if it's really bad, you might have to disassemble and clean the switch and polish the contacts. That was a mouthful. I still haven't put the CD4 board back in, and I don't think it's necessary for doing testing. I'm going to power up, test our 4 amplifiers, make sure everything's good. I'm going to test the function of the tone board. I'm going to want to check these switches to see how bad they are. And if they are very bad, you can't see what switches I'm pointing at, these ones. And if these switches are quite poor condition, I'm going to remove these and work on these next. Another thing I need to do is treat the 4 potentiometers in this, got a wire tied here, in this balance control. Okay, we're about to do our first initial power up, and I want to do bias adjustment. So we have 4 amplifiers to adjust. So to do that, first thing is set the amplifier in 4-channel mode. Okay, and then they want you to add an 8 ohm load across each of the amplifiers. So here I got on the main front and main back speaker connectors, I have 4 resistors, 8.2 ohms each. Now I'm not going to dump power into these, I'm just using them to make sure that the output's stable and that we don't have any weirdness. What I'm going to do first is I'm going to power this up with the speaker switches disconnected, and I'm going to check for DC offset on all 4 amplifiers to make sure that we don't have rail voltage on one of our speaker lines. So let's do this. Let's see here, I'll connect my ground terminal to a good ground source first. Where can I find a good ground? I think maybe this post here, this brass post, should work. Okay, there's our watt meter. Let's turn it on. Get smoke or fire, or is it going to work? Went up to 45 watts. It seems to be working. Okay, great. So let's check each test point. So that's millivolts there, millivolts there, millivolts there. Great, everything's working. So now let me get a different set of probes here. These ones have the clips I like. Okay, so let's start with amplifier 1. Measure between the 2 emitter resistors and the test point. We should have 8 millivolts. So we're going to need to adjust make some adjustments here. Oh, we're at 0.8. So we need to turn this up. We're sitting at 44.5 watts. Let's adjust this. Actually, we have to turn speakers on first. That's no good. We had major power consumption. The front ones, when I turn the back ones on, something is wrong. Okay, let's do the front ones first. Where's all that power going? That's what I was curious about. We're on 4-channel. Let's turn this up. Millivolts. And then we'll have to readjust it once it warms up. I'll put it at 7 for now, and then we'll let it stabilize. Okay, let's do the other channel. Let's do number 2. And we're already at 5.7, 5.8. Let's turn this one up a bit. Seems like it's climbing up on its own. Okay, 8, here we come. .5 for now. Now we need to figure out what's going on with these other 2 amps. We got some serious. Let's turn this amp on. Jumps up to 180 watts. Why is it doing that? Okay, let's take it to this one. So I have to investigate why, when I turn the speaker switch on, we have 180 watts, and we're not blowing any fuses or anything. And these resistors, these little half-watt resistors, aren't going up in flames. So we have a problem somewhere in the amplifier. Let me get a scope and see if it's going on. Maybe we have an oscillation. I don't know. Let me check. Okay, this is really odd. Okay, watch. I'll switch on the rear speakers and watch the power consumption on the meter here. Jumps up to 185 watts for no apparent reason. Now, right now I'm sitting in the CD4 discrete. If I switch it to enhanced stereo, watch what happens. Okay. Alright, here's our power meter. Switching the rear speakers on. No change. What is going on with this thing? It's really weird. Okay, so let's do the bias adjustment for the other two channels. Let's do this one here. Well, we're already connected here, so let's do this one. Okay, so we're turned on, and we are millivolts. Put this one at 7.5 as well. Give it time to warm up. Okay, let's do the last amplifier. We're at 13, a little bit high. Let's turn this one down. Is it warm? No. This one really wants to be. Okay, I'll leave it there. I'll let this sit for 10 minutes and then I'll come back and recheck all my measurements. Okay, here's a little look at the output of, let's see, this is the front right amplifier. And when I switch in the rear speakers, looks like it breaks into an oscillation here. Look at this. And that's like a 500 kilohertz. 500 kilohertz oscillation. That's why I'm getting the weird power consumption, right? And I noticed that when I was playing with the balance joystick, it would come and go. So when I turn the balance joystick, it kind of dissipates. See, there it's gone. Here it comes back. And it's at 180 watts. Funny, this power is not going out the resistors in the back because they would have been burned up by now. So where's all this power going? I'm still fighting with getting these biasing set up because it drifts a lot with temperature. So right now I set it and now it's down around 4.3 again, so I got to keep adjusting. It's like hitting a moving target. So I'm just going to keep going through each of these 4 amplifiers and try and get them just bang on 8 millivolts or 7.5, somewhere around there. See, there's some heat in these heat sinks. So we have to investigate that oscillation. Well, I'm not too worried about it right now because I don't even have the CD4 board installed. It's sitting on my bench, not even connected. So when I put the CD4 board back in, that might just go away. I don't know yet, so we're gonna see. Okay, so it's been on for a couple hours now anyway, and I keep checking the bias and trimming it so it's bang on, and we're doing good here. Everything's as predicted. All 4 amplifiers look like they're healthy and they're working. So now what I'm going to do is just shut this down. I'm going to reinstall the CD4 board and then finish the connections and complete this, and then we'll do some testing and we'll see what other problems we have at the moment. So just give me a minute to put that card in, and then we'll bring you back and we'll do some testing. Let's get some power to this thing. Let's try it with some speakers and see what it does. Let's turn it on. It goes up to 48, 49 watts. And I do have a signal being fed in. Oh, I can turn on the speakers would help. Left, right, rear, front. Let's try the back speakers. I don't have any speakers connected there, but it is working. Let's try, let's go to AM. Let's try AM.
Of the people.
And so, Pauline, what's your coping strategy? Do you choose stores where they have people?
Okay, AM is working okay. It's going to need alignment, I think. Let's try FM, which is 1, 2, 3. That should be FM.
Romancière Jocelyne Cazin.
It's interesting, it's working, but I'm not getting stereo.
ANNS. This is the story of a child who struggled with changes.
Person, everyone on your guest list. Not so possibility.
It's unusual how this signal strength meter works. When there's no signal, it's pegged right at 100%, and that's 0. But as you tune your stations, this drops, and it goes kind of reverse to what you're normally used to.
Plan with Encore by Epcor and save. Get the lowdown and stay carefree.
Okay, it's definitely going to need an alignment. Okay, what do we got? Mono. And this is stereo. Let's turn this to stereo. Let's see if we can get any stereo here.
Sense of sadness. Part of it is due to your circadian rhythms, your body clock. Our body clock is what helps us feel alert in the morning, hungry at meal.
Yeah, it's just badly out of alignment.
But where did those voices come from?
Discover over 6,000 products in-store or online at halfords.ca.
Trivia is pretty.
your basket. So crank up.
Okay, sounds good. And we have our tone. We already checked that. That was on auxiliary 1. There. Let me try the rear amplifiers. I'll switch my speakers to the rear, and I'll switch my source to the rear, and then we'll check that out. Okay, switch the connectors around. Let's try it. So that's the front. Let's go, let's see here. Need to turn on your speakers, and they are on. Let's try auxiliary 2. Okay, I think it's because I'm on stereo and I'm on 2 channels. So let's turn this to discrete with 4 channels. 4 channels. Some speakers on my help. There it is. Okay, so it is not working. You have to be in the 4 channel mode here on your mode selector. So this is 4 channel discrete. This is enhanced stereo. So it's taking the first 2 channels. Okay. And this one is SQ matrix. SQ matrix 2. Stereo, mono. Okay, seems to be all functioning. So as of right now, we have everything functioning that I can see. We haven't tested the demodulator yet, or the SQ. I think it's working. I can hear background hiss on it, so I think its signals are going through it. The AM tuners and FM tuner both need alignments, so maybe I should get started on that and get the alignments done. I'll start on the AM and work my way through and get on the FM. I'm just working my way through the alignments, and I did the AM alignment. That went really well, and that turned out pretty good. Now I'm starting FM, and my first alignment adjustment, I touched one of the coils, and it was acting up funny, so I had to pull the cover off. It was soldered in place, and it had a wire securement, and I had to actually fix some cracked solder joints in here, so before I could proceed. So now that this has been fixed up, I can put the cover back on and continue with my alignment. But this is now fixed. I found this connection between the tuning capacitor and the board was cracked, and there's a few other grounds that were cracked in here, so something to be aware of. Okay, I run into some problems here on this CD4 board. Now, this receiver, the 2 phono inputs are switched by the front switch, and then the signals fed into the CD4 board. And on the CD4 board, there's 2 amplifier chips. They are the LD3130 from Sanyo, and I assume that's what they're using to do the low level or the low level amplification for this receiver for the phono stage. Because I put my finger by here, you can hear it's picking up my body through capacitance. Okay, so the phono signal's coming in, but I can't get the CD4 decoder to work properly, and I'm going to try a few things. So according to this, I should be able to just connect up a signal generator, feed in some tones, and connect the scope to the output of the tape output and visually see the tones and listen to them. But I can't get a tone through this amplifier or through this CD4 board, and nothing is working. So I don't know what is going on here. I have a feeling I have problems with some semiconductors on this thing. If I turn up the volume, You can hear barely hear a that's the input tantalum capacitor. Now I notice these connectors are garbage. I'll put and wiggle this one. The connectors are making poor contact. And I still don't know what this board does. I think it's some kind of a amplifier, single stage amplifier circuit. I'm not sure. I've got sound through one channel, but not the other. So I don't know what's going on with that either. So I'm going to keep working at this. I'm going to see if I can get a signal through this. What I've been doing is I've been feeding signal in and picking off certain spots, like I'll feed in a signal before the transistor and then pick it off with a scope after, and the signal's getting through. I'm not finding anything weird going on here. But I've also adjusted these two are these are the phase lock loops. These are IC 403 404. This is an LM565. And I think an LM565 is a phase lock loop. It's got a free running oscillator in it, and I adjusted it to 30 kilohertz, and that was fine. This is where our signal comes in. I'm going to feed a signal in the input and just see if I have a dead chip here. I don't think they're dead, because listen to the gain I'm getting a lot of background noise and gain. So this should feed an audio signal right through to this pot, which is your separation adjust, left or right. Yeah, I'll keep playing around here. So I just finished cleaning up some of the adjustments on the CD4 board. One of the problems I had is when I was playing stereo records without the CD4 decoder, I was getting one channel only. Wow, that's not good. But I found out these two pots back here were dirty, and once I cleaned them, that channel came back. So that was the cause of that. And that was probably the cause of me having so many difficulty doing the alignment of this board. Now I got the CD4 album out, my test record. This is something I keep handy for just for this purpose, and CD4 is working. I can hear all four channels, so it sounds good. It's probably not tuned to the optimum, but it's working. So like, how many CD4 albums are we going to be playing in the future? Not very many, but it sounds good on stereo, so I'm pleased with that. And I'm pleased with the power output. I'm pleased with the controls. I actually didn't have to touch any of the switches. They're just from the use, they're getting cleaned. Yeah, everything's running good so far. I got no complaints. I still want to try this CD4 record a few more times and tweak some of these adjustments just to see if I can make any improvements. But going by the service manual, it was really no help. Even if I followed it step to step, and it just didn't work for me. So maybe I'll try it again, because you know, I did have troubles with one channel, which was this. All right, let's do a power test here and see how this thing performs. Now I'm going to do a couple power tests. I'm going to do, in the 4-channel mode, I'm going to do the 2 front amplifiers first, and then I'll do the 2 rear amplifiers, and we'll see how that goes, and then we'll put it into bridge mode, and we will crank her up and see what we get for maximum power. So we should be at reduced power now. I'm feeding a 1000 hertz tone. Got the scope connected and my dummy load. So let's turn this thing on. Takes a while for it to warm up. Okay, there's our tone. Just testing these switches. Okay. All the controls. So all the controls are working good. Let's shut off the noise, turn on the load, and we should be able to see it on the scope. Here we go. Turning it up. So we've got clipping on the top channel. That might be just be my balance control. Get that centered. So we're going to measure the top channel. So clipping right there. Actually still clipping on the bottom of it. Take it back right to there. And we got 18.12 volts RMS on the output. And we got 172 watts going in. Very good. Let's let this warm up for a bit. See which amplifiers are the ones that are live. None of them are. They're all cold, so I'm going to wait a bit. Okay, these two front amplifiers are warming up. These ones are staying cold, so I'm assuming these are the two rears and there's nothing happening back here. So let's, I'll reconfigure, I'll stop this and I'll reconfigure everything, and we'll feed a signal through those two rear amplifiers, see how they're, if they're healthy or not. Turn this down. Alright, so everything's connected, it's power on, and we should have our signal on the rear amplifiers now. And we don't. Why don't we? Auxiliary 2. Auxiliary 1 maybe? Let's try auxiliary 1. There we go. Alright. And we have our load connected to auxiliary, or the rear amplifiers. So here's the rear amplifiers. Coming up to clipping. Take it back down. Right here. That looks good. At 19.49 volts. We'll let those go for a while and see how these warm up. That's good enough. I think it's been running for a couple minutes and it's running good. Okay, so I'm going to reconfigure this for bridge mode, and then we'll do a power test at full power bridge mode. So give me a moment to reconfigure again, and then I'll bring it back in. Alright, I think I'm ready to go. Let's turn this on. We're still on the remote speakers, so let's turn this on. Turn on the remote. Ooh, we're getting some feedback here. Yeah, it's not working. Okay, let's try this. Seems to have a ground loop. There's clipping there. 27.28 volts RMS. 430 watts going in. It's definitely working in bridge mode, but I can't scope it because of the ground loop, and it is putting out power, good power. So this is as far as I'm going to take this one. Everything's working. Well, there it is. It's all back together. I've actually had a chance to listen to this for about a week, and it sounds great. I like it. It's got a nice tone to it. It's not harsh. It's not shrill. It's very smooth sound, and it's pleasant to listen to. You know, when you want to turn it up louder, it's good. But when you have an amplifier and it sounds terrible, you just want to turn it down. That's not good. But this is one of those amplifiers you just want to keep turning up louder and louder, and just enjoy the music. So I did have a little issue on the listening bench. One of the things that happened was the stereo light would come on at random for no reason, even when I wasn't listening to the radio. And I went back in and looked at that, and what it was, in the power supply, there's a regulating transistor that provides, what I measured was a 15 volt supply for the lamp in the stereo lamp and the multiplex circuit. Now I looked at that circuit and it was providing almost 21 volts, and that's not right. So I looked at it, and there was a very, very small solder bridge between the emitter and collector on that transistor, and it was allowing that power to go through and illuminate that lamp. So I fixed that, fixed the power supply. The lamp is no longer coming on for no reason, and that's great. So this is all ready to go. Everything's working great. So anyways, that's it for this one. Thanks for watching, and I'm going to post this on December 27th. So this will be just before New Year's. So Happy New Year to all my viewers, and thanks for your continued support over the years, the last few years, and channel steadily growing. I'm not really paying attention to the channel growing, but I can still see it's going up in numbers, so thanks for that. And thanks for all your views and your support. And hope you have a Happy New Year. And we'll see you in the new year, and take care. Thanks for watching.